Welcome to the Hella Biz Green Room, and today we have special guest Alicia Maria, who is the CEO and founder of the Wine Noire over in Berkeley, California. After working as a wine ambassador for a major winery in St. Helena, Alicia decided to fill the void in the male-dominated wine industry by creating the Wine Noire. She engineered the organization as a social impact and cooperative company that uses an integrated approach to offer equitable resource and diversity and inclusion solutions to the wine industry. Born and raised in Oakland, California, and a lifelong Bay Area native, Alicia embodies the culturally enriched, diverse mission and values of the region. Alicia has an undergraduate degree in business and a master's degree in public administration from California State University, East Bay. She has completed wine courses in the sommelier program at San Francisco Wine School and is currently pursuing her certification from the prestigious Wine and Spirits Education Trust and wine business certification at Napa Wine Academy. Alicia, welcome to the show. And just as a little bit of background for our listeners, one of the things that was really amazing, when I first met you, you were actually on your way to the airport to get on a plane to go to South Africa, and this was just before we went into lockdown. You made it back just in time.
Yes.
So tell me, how exactly did you get started on this journey from corporate America to wine mogul?
Yes, that's an amazing question. My journey into the wine industry. So it started back in 2009-ish, 2009, 8-ish, around that time. I can't believe it's been a decade and some time. And coming up to my 30th birthday around that time, I had always just heard of, people saying, oh, let's go to Napa, let's go to Sonoma. It was always talk. And some of my older friends, I would tag along with them to, just wineries. And, but in 2009, in the summertime, I decided that I wanted to start, changing up my normal summer activities and take my friends and I to different wineries in Napa. So the first winery I went to was Domaine Chandon.
Good choice.
Yeah, because I had already ordered their wines via wine club or family members or friends of friends. I was introduced to that winery and I loved it. And for the summer of 2009, I would just always go, like every weekend, because I stayed like 30 minutes from Napa. So it was just amazing, right? So from there, I noticed that my palate for wine just I just developed an interest. And then from there, I ended up attending an event that was referred to a friend of mine. She was a part of what we call the African American Vintners Association. And when she told me about it, I'm like, oh, there are people of color, specifically African Americans, that are in the wine industry that actually produce wine, own vineyards here in California, which is a great thing, but I just never knew about it. And so I was invited to their annual symposium at a golf course in Sonoma, and it was amazing. We had dinner. Lunch pairings and like a wine exhibit of all of the African-American winemakers. So right then and there, I said, okay, I have to be in this industry. But it was a thought in my mind of maybe years later, I would say like 6 years later. So through those 6 years, I've always just been a consumer of wine, going to Napa, going to Sonoma, going to like Livermore, just exploring different wineries and tasting different California wines. I developed a palate. So I would only buy wine from wineries. I would not get them from the grocery store. It just had to come from a winery. So finally, I was introduced at a networking event in 2016 to become a wine ambassador with a company called Boisset, which is owned by John Charles. And he's married to the Gina Gallo. So the Gallo family and the Boisset family together. So while I was working in corporate, I just saw this lady selling this amazing wine and I sampled it, and all of their wineries are here and I can do this as a sales rep. So I did it and I just loved it. I would have wine tastings with my friends, and we had a celebrity wine brand attached to the portfolio, which was John Legend at the time. And he just had launched his wine in St. Helena. So it was already rated by Wine Spectator and Wine Enthusiast magazine, 90 plus points. So I just started having wine tastings and I loved it. And then from there, I noticed that there was I wanted to get more into the business side of wine. And then just through connections, I launched the Wine Noire. Out of a love for creating inclusiveness, diversity, and social impact in the wine industry. And furthermore, what that means is that there is no ecosystem of distribution, wholesale, importing and exporting for wine brands of color. So women of color, men of color, and international and local producers and small producers internationally to bring them here into California. So I just thought, hey, let me start this robust business. And yeah, that's how I got to where I am.
What types of obstacles and challenges have you had thus far in your journey?
Challenges are twofold. It is, as a woman in this industry, I've worked I will say this, I don't think I've ever experienced any type of sexism or, but it is doubt. Like, I feel like the men in the industry, even though they have been supportive, it's a level of not thinking that I'm an importer or an exporter, or you don't think that I'm the person that owns the company. I'm not taken seriously. It's maybe she's the saleswoman, or which I am, I play all parts. So some of the challenges are being taken seriously. And then being a Black woman doing importing and exporting, which is a traditional white male role, is even more, but I think there's a lot of intrigue of how did you get in this industry? And again, that can come across in two ways. It can come across in a way of just curiosity, or do you really belong? So I have to feed, as a woman of color, I have to kind of keep why I'm in the industry when people ask me those questions. And I think the majority of it is because they don't see people that look like me in it under a certain age, And then the other challenge is also just identifying brands of color and getting them on board to understand how important it is to have a cohesive supply chain. And then presenting that to the broader marketplace, And so I think those are two. And the third challenge is capital. That's another challenge. And I know we'll probably get into that later. So those are some of the challenges. But I look at those as opportunities as well. So a challenge can always be an opportunity to solve that challenge.
I've had a great opportunity in my career to work with a number of restaurants over the years. And I know from having done a number of winemaker dinners with African-American vintners that it's a very small and cohesive group of people, particularly here in California. So tell me, in terms of the competitive landscape, what exactly does it look like right now? And is it really difficult to gain that really important share of voice?
There's another woman who does what I do, and that's how I end up getting into the industry. Heritage Link Brands is who I sought, they're African-American owned importing company as well. And I actually worked for them and then became my own. They're based out of Southern California. So there is myself, there's maybe three of us, but out of the three, I focus more on, I don't have my own brand. So you have others that are winemakers, but they also have other wines in their portfolio. So I will say it's very rare. Like, I will say I'm unique in what I do because I'm focusing on the Bay Area. There's some other ventures tied to my business we'll talk about later in the conversation. But I just think that in my age group, my vision, I'm the only one that thinks about how to incorporate technology and bridge multiple generations, Gen X, baby boomers, millennials, and Gen Z. And so I think I'm the only one that has the thought process of how I want to take my company to the next level. The app, to me, I feel like the app would be an amazing experience to where it connects the consumer as well as the businesses. So I'm looking into the app and, so those are things, just building a more cohesiveness of diversity and inclusion in the food space, the beverage space, the hospitality space. to get more restaurants and the consumer to say, hey, I want everyone to love wine made by individuals of color. Like it's the same, we go through the same process, but it's just, it's diversity. That's our economy. That's our global audience now. By 2030, the buying power across all sectors will be people of color dominant, and then a younger generation. So that's what I'm on the cusp of. We're in 2020. So by the time my company is 10 years old, I want to be the leader. I want to not wait until 2030 or 2025. I want to start now to engage those audiences and to bridge the gap.
I had the opportunity a few years ago to participate and actually put together a survey for the UC Davis Wine School with regard to a seminar that they were holding. And one of the things that came out was that in terms of the population, where we surveyed 1,000 people both in Northern and Southern California about their wine drinking habits. And the American culture is not a wine drinking culture so much. We didn't grow up drinking wine from the age of 12 with our meal, but the millennial tends to be lagging a little bit behind in terms of wine consumption. What are you finding with regard to your business model and the impact of that group and how you're moving forward?
It is changing. Wine consumption is going up in the alcohol family. Beer, I don't know if you noticed, beer consumption is going down, and the younger generation, the millennials and younger, more so about price points. Also, you have a lot of celebrities in the industry that have their own wine. From R&B to hip hop to just locally athletes. So I think our generation is so much more influenced by the celebrity and social media. You look at it, a lot of different factors. So I think wine consumption, we produce 80%, California produce 80 to 90% of all the wine in the United States. So we are the largest producer and then Florida, I think, is the number 2 wine drinking state when you look at wine consumption. So the good thing about California is that we have a diverse taste, a diverse palate. So for wines that I have in my portfolio, it's a great opportunity for me to market wines of different regions, from the Latin region, from the African region, from even local producers of color, Latinx, from the Asian community, from the African American community, from the LGBT community, like all these different producers, I think the audience, the buying power is that now. So if they're not seeing that, then they're not going to support. And I think people now are more conscious about where they spend their dollars. They want to do social impact. They want to know more about the brand. So if they know, oh, it's a woman, you started your own business. How did you do? I want to support you. People are being more conscious from, if it comes to staying at a hotel, to eating the food, to drinking a particular alcoholic beverage, the story behind it. What my brand offers and what it stands for and what it means is that we basically are a change agent in the hospitality, particularly wine industry. We want to offer diversity and inclusion. That is so big for me, because even the way and how we view wine, everyone's story is different. And I just came back from South Africa speaking with Black South African women who are farmers, who own their own vineyards. Their story is different than a traditional white male farmer or vineyard owner, so our story is just not the same that has been painted in the wine industry. So just telling those stories through the media division of my company, also showcasing these brands to the big retailers to say, look, these are amazing brands and we can have more than one. So my company, we represent diversity and inclusion. We also offer just a different perspective, opportunity to let individuals know of color that you can not just have to be a waiter. You can work in fine wine. You can work as a somm. You can become a beverage director. You can become an importer. So to see individuals like myself, and then hopefully my goal is to hire people and partner in this ecosystem to expand and diversify the industry of hospitality, and then that subsector of the wine industry, and then the other sectors of the industry as well. So I partner a lot with the food industry. I have chefs in my network. I have restaurateurs. I have hotel owners, wine shop owners. So we all working together to keep this industry alive and thriving, especially during this time.
What's been your greatest success thus far?
Too. So I was able to work with Google, to work with them on their wine. They have these wine events and wine symposiums for their employees in San Francisco. So getting, working in partnership with them, that was amazing. And then the second one was just being able to finally go to South Africa, because my journey into the wine industry, I mentioned another wine importing company. I started selling their brands. I was buying their South African brands and I sold it all. And then I started cultivating my own relationships with those brands. And from there, I went to South Africa and I finally got to meet the wine producers that I was, that I had been selling their wine, having dinners and just really, and when you're in this industry and you're selling a region, you want to go there. Right. You want to go to that region. It gives you credibility. You get to really look at the soil, meet the people. So just really going to South Africa, that's not going to be my only time. I'm going there many more times. And yeah, so those are the two accomplishments, just being able to, work with the big corporation and do wine events and sell my wine to them as a vendor. And then also being able to finally, go to the region in which I primarily sell for right now. Mm-hmm. On a business level, what's unique about my business is that my business, going back to it's very transactional. So at first it was event-based prior to COVID, was ready to hit the spring and the summer with all the events. But now when I do events, or when I did events, I would hire contract staff or event staff through companies. So a lot of my work is transactional, where I am, even though I'm the CEO, I'm also an employee in my business. So I'm actually, an employee. So I didn't have to lay off people, things of that nature. I just became more of a more transactional. Mm-hmm. So direct to consumer for now. And what that entails is just, pivoting my marketing towards doing virtual wine tastings, being on social media more, advertising more on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, to build my direct, tap in more into my direct to consumer audience so that they can shop through my wine shop, as well as, hopefully once I launch my wine club. Mm-hmm. And then also just working with different chefs, to sell them wine that own restaurants, and they can do curbside pickup and offer wine with their meals by the bottle. I'm also redesigning my website. So just looking at how can I take this time, even though it's a slow time for me, I'm taking this time to rebrand my website, get my email marketing together, so that, hopefully when we get in phase 2 and 3, because I think we're in phase 2 of where we are. Phase 3, I think is reopening some of the restaurants, right? So we'll be back to some gatherings, I think, a little bit, even if it's small. So just getting ready for phase 3. So I'm, and I've been so thankful to take advantage of a lot of the funding opportunities. So that gives me a cushion to be able to be sustainable.
I'm going to give you my magic wand for the day, and you're going to go to Sacramento to try and sort things out. What would you want them to know? What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? How do we navigate forward, especially right now under these particularly odd circumstances that we're in?
If I had the magic wand, I come as a team. So if it's me going to Gavin Newsom's office in the Capitol, I always think about my community, the restaurant community, the hospitality, diverse, all of us. And so, because if I can't be the only person standing, but I basically would just have, I would talk to because the hospitality industry is a big industry. It's like, I think the majority tourism is big. I'll just even put it under tourism. So I think that it's important that I would tell the governor that we start developing a disaster plan immediately so that we can start transitioning back into a sense of how it was. So I would, work with them on a disaster plan, how can we, and also get access to funding at the state level. Instead of us focusing on SBA, how can we make sure that businesses of color, every, restaurant businesses are getting funding? How can we do that? And so I'm focusing on capital, free money, and loans that are forgivable at the state level, and just how we can, facilitate that and how the money is going to get to us and have disaster planning going forward. And also giving us access to supplies, as restaurants, as wine businesses, we're going to need access to, when we're having, big events and gatherings, how can we get access to face masks, face shields, like things like that, so that when we are in events that we're able to add that sanitation and that preparedness to our strategy. Capital and reopening, we have to focus on that equally as much as we're focusing, because we're not developing the vaccination. Yes, we have our research institutions, but I would definitely, have the governor focus more on that, because I feel right now there's this expectation of closing down businesses. Yes, for public safety, we need that. But I feel like we can do both. I think we're as robust enough to do both. We need to spend much time on business owners, because they're not going to be able to be sustainable if they're not able to make money.
I love your response about being part of a team and actually creating a sense of industry voice to move things forward. So Alicia, what is your personal superpower?
I'm very resourceful. I am an asset in a sense of, I think at a strategic level. So people come to me, or I've branded myself as being like a coach, mentor, and advice, because I love information. Like sometimes I never believe there's a such thing as information overload. And I think that comes from my level of reading. I'm a person that is I'm a big picture person. And then I work with individuals that can get to the details, so for me, it's thinking on a broader level. People, when I have conversations with colleagues in my industry, the responses, you're very resourceful, like you have these great ideas. So that is my superpower. I think also too, I've always been a person that has the ideas, but I need the capital to match. So what would make the perfect, what in my network is, I'm building this network of individuals that have a high net worth financially, and pairing them with myself and others who have those ideas that will take this industry to the next level. So I'm a go-getter. I'm a networker. I bring value, solutions, and I operate at a high level when it comes to foreseeing how the world is from a business standpoint and from a spiritual standpoint. I feel like I think outside of the box. And that is why I could never stay in corporate America for a long time. It limits me.
Who's been your biggest inspiration?
Family, like my mom, my aunts, my stepfather, my father. So just my whole entire family, even if they're not active in my life, but just learning about my family history on both sides and generationally. We've had entrepreneurs in my family. So from a personal standpoint, my family, I have friends of mine who are entrepreneurs. I have colleagues. I'm tapping into that. I used to say, again, you have the Oprah Winfreys, you have the Beyoncés, you have women in our industry that are doing really well, that I look up to. But mainly I look at just everyday entrepreneurs, so I can't really just name them. But when I say friends of mine, they know who they are, colleagues of mine, my family, my mother, my aunts, they've been so supportive. I just came back from South Africa with one of my aunts. I paid for her to come with me, and she's 74. So this was her first time in South Africa, in Africa, period. And it was just amazing. So then she got to tell my mother and my other aunt and other friends of ours, how amazing it was to see their niece and their daughter like doing well, like in the business. Because I think sometimes when you start a business, especially when you're of a certain age and you've accomplished a lot and you make a major pivot, there's always this question of why do you want to leave that stable job? Or, you know, I've had to tap into family financially, and now they see, you know, this is something that is going to help my niece or my granddaughter or my daughter. And then finally, my grandmothers. So both my grandmothers, I've had them up until a certain age, like in my mid to late 30s. One of my grandmothers passed in 2016, the other one in 2019. One was in her 90s, the other one was in her late 80s. So I really, for their lifestyle and where they came from, they're with me always in spirit. And so I just I tap into my ancestors and I know that they're with me. So yeah, I look up to the people that are in my ecosystem.
Where do you see yourself and the Wine Noire in 12 months, 5 years? What does that look like to you?
I see myself growing the Wine Noire, adding more wines from the diaspora from South Africa and partnering with local wine brands here, and then also tapping into wine brands in Latin America. So Spanish wines, wines from Brazil. So growing that portfolio and building out the delivery system of my business to be more engaging with direct to consumer, the wine club. So building up my inventory, adding more wine producers, and then also growing the delivery aspect, partnering with delivery companies, and, you know, working with technology, building the mobile app, things of that nature, and just being more vocal on that end. I also have a brand that I'm launching, a brand that is similar to what you're doing, where it's podcasting and YouTubing and more social media with merchandise and all of that good old stuff. That's going to have books on food and wine, subscription, things of that nature under the Wine Noire, but a subsection. And then, as I've talked to you, we're opening up a wine shop very soon. So my business partner and I have a new partnership where we're going to be having a wine shop within the next 12 months.
That's fantastic.
And it's going to operate very in a new way, like technology, more delivery efficient, more eco-friendly, you know, just, we have this whole plan. And then 5 years, I hope to, by that time, have staff, you know, just grow it into this woman-owned business where it's multicultural, multi-generational, and brands of color. Like I just want women-owned brands and brands of color to thrive. Hopefully we can add some spirits. I'm looking into licensing for spirits so that we can get some spirits in there too under my company. So we're working on a lot of things and growing. I want to grow a team. So I think I'm all about growing team, access, and capital. We're going to be on WeFunder soon, we hope, you know, so yeah, I'm excited about that.
Part of what the Hella Biz community is all about is bringing together business people who have amazing innovation, inspiration, ideation, and collaboration. So what is it that the business community, the Hella Business community, can bring to you to support you, to nurture you, and for you to do likewise?
I would love for people to, of course, check me out on thewinenoire.com to check out my wine shop. Stay tuned for, you know, opt into my email list, you know, so that I can add you to my newsletter so I can keep you abreast on what's going on. I'm always looking for interns, so internships to help out the next generation when it comes to marketing and branding, virtual assisting, or anyone that wants to learn about the wine industry. So, and I'm also accessing capital, so raising capital, so then I can also build a team. So those are things that I'm looking for: capital, employees from a internship perspective, but also there's some opportunities if I can hire later in the year, going into 2021. I definitely am looking at that as well, and to purchase my products.
Those are all wonderful things to welcome into your sphere. So as we're closing this out, what kind of final thoughts would you like to share with our listeners?
My final thoughts is just to anyone that during this time, just remember we've been in a similar time, just not in a pandemic, but we've been through economic downturns, maybe 10 years ago in 2007 and 8, which was just it was the real estate, the economy was just going downward. Millions of jobs, millions of jobs were being lost in months, right? So in this pandemic right now, yes, unemployment claims are high, but use this as an opportunity to be creative. So any advice that I would give is just use this time to really tap into you, no matter if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. If there's something you want to do, even if it's to get another job or it's to increase your skills to become a better employee or to pivot into changing your business model, this is the time to do that. This downtime, I think we've all been asking for a pause. I think a lot of people have, so use this opportunity to invest in yourself, to learn new skills, to, take it to the next level, to accomplish some goals, because this too shall pass. I believe this is going to last probably a year, right? Probably by 2021, we'll get back to a sense of normalcy. So if this next year and a half of social distancing and several shelters in place, if you have not did anything and we go back to normal, it's another missed opportunity. And I do not want another pandemic to happen. But if anything happens again, where it's evident that the economy goes up and down, you want to be able to say that you've adapted. So just use this as a time to reinvent yourself. And that's what I'm doing. And also relax too. You don't always have to be about business. If you just want to, if you've never watched Netflix for 2 months, and I'm not advocating this, but some people, we're always in this culture where we have to get up and go. Take the time to watch your favorite shows, to be engaged socially, do your favorite thing. It doesn't always have to be like you're always on this grind of I have to do this new thing. So find out what you want to do and do it best, and use this time. If it's a job that laid you off, okay, take the money from unemployment and try to find something that you really want to do. Now if you have to work, go out there, but take care of your health. If you're an essential worker, make sure that you keep your immune system up. So I would just say, put yourself first. Companies are putting themselves first. They're laying off people for their bottom line. So we need to invest in ourselves and take advantage of all the resources that are available. Stay connected, and don't also just kind of monitor the news. Still watch it for information, to stay informed on what's going on, but also just stay positive. Listen to motivational tapes, read books, journal, meditate, do those things, pray. So those are some of my parting words, is to put yourself first and use this time as an opportunity.
Alicia, thank you. It's been wonderful having you as a guest, and everyone who's listening, if you have the opportunity to check out her website, check out her social media platform, and be sure to support her as we all try and support each other. And again, this is Alicia Maria, who is the CEO and founder of the Wine Noire. So make sure y'all check her out. Thank you so much. We'll be back at you soon with more episodes.